all-new Yamaha V6 Offshore F350. It's a featherweight knockout, the lightest 350 horsepower outboard on the water, exhilarating boating and incredible control in a powerfully light design. The Yamaha V6 Offshore F350.
Dave Anderson here with the Fisherman magazine. It's April 25th. These are your headlines. We got lots of striper news this week. We got schoolies reaching the canal. We've got fish into the mid-teens going up into Narragansett Bay, and we've got some much larger fish out in western Long Island Sound. Stay tuned for all that and more on this week's New England Fishing Forecast.
The fishing news is sponsored by these fine partners.
Before we begin, we've got a few news items for you guys. The first one is an announcement that the CKC, the Coastal Kayak Clash, is back for 2024. Here's a little promo video to give you all the details.
The Coastal Kayak Clash is back for 2024. Win this Old Town Sportsman PDL 120 fully outfitted by YakAttack.com. Our second place winner will take home this Humminbird Helix 7. Win third place and you walk away $500 richer. And there are many other ways to win as well. We've got reels from Daiwa and lures and gear from Yozori. If you fish from a kayak and you're a Fisherman subscriber, you're eligible to enter the CKC. Catch one of 8 qualifying species. Photograph them next to a flat ruler showing the Fisherman tag with your kayak clearly visible and get yourself on the leaderboard. This kayak-only tournament kicks off May 1st and ends November 30th. Get all the details at thefisherman.com.
Next thing I want to tell you guys about is that Mako's Bait and Tackle out in Buzzards Bay, right down by the canal, is having a blowout sale this weekend. Some of the stuff's going to be marked down 50%, so lots of opportunity to get some great tackle. So you're definitely going to want to head over there and patronize them. And hey, you can go check out and see what's going on the canal while you're there. Next thing, we got a lot of tog action going on right now, and we're going to bring Jenny Ackerman back with her latest installment of Open Boat. This one's all about tog tips. Here she is.
Hey everyone, welcome to this week's Open Boat. Today we are here at the fillet table. We're not filleting fish, but we're talking fish. So we're going into some tips and tricks on targeting my favorite species, but in the spring. My favorite species to fish for, drum roll please, is the blackfish, of course. So targeting blackfish in the spring is a little bit different compared to targeting them in the winter months. And there's some factors that get affected into it. Where are they hanging out at? You know, they migrate offshore, are they hanging out inshore? What are they feeding on? What's their spawn pattern? Like, how are they acting to that? There's a ton of different factors, of course, with every species as they go through the different cycle of months that affect them year round. So, going into the specifics of targeting spring run blackfish, first off is the type of bait you want to use and how that bait affects the type of rig / jig that you use. It doesn't really affect the jig, it will affect the rig. So, going into the type of bait you want to use, specifically like in the spring, blackfish have softer lips, so they don't want to be crunching down on a crab because of that hard shell. So what are you going to use instead? You're going to use soft baits. What type of soft baits are you going to use? You can do sandworms, you can do cooked shrimp, and you could do salted clams. So you can go to your local tackle shop and get yourself some salted clams and some worms, and you can even go to Wegmans and get yourself some shrimp. Make sure you don't eat it. Save it for your blackfish trip. So since I have the clams here, I'm going to show you an easy way to rig them up. Of course, if you're a jig fisherman, you just pop a little piece on your jig and toss it down. But you know, us ladies over here, we gotta stay classy and fish a rig. So I'm going to show you just a simple rig to tie that you can use for spring blackfish. So I have the rig right here. You can see it. It's just a doubled snell hook right here. You got your owner hooks spaced out like this far apart with your loop tied up at the top, and you can attach that to your top shot. And of course, if you do a Belmar rig, wrap your stinker around and you're all good to go. So since I have these delicious surf clams here, we're gonna fish out 2 perfect primo pieces of salted clam. So the type of pieces you want to use for specifically this type of rig, they look like this. Looks like a good old snot loogie right there with the little sucker piece at the top. Clam anatomy, we know. So you're gonna take this bottom hook, you're gonna hook it through that fatty section of the clam, just like that, easy peasy. Now some guys, if you're using like a snafu rig, they'll take that second hook and put it through that clam. I like to do the more the merrier. I will fish out a second little piece of clam snot and hook it on that same piece, and you just have a delicious clam string rig right there ready for you to drop down to the bottom. And what's cool about using clam or soft baits in the spring, especially on the boat, is the bycatch. Don't even get me started about all the cod you can get, even some ling. Like, you get a trifecta day out there fishing on a party boat. You get blackfish, you get cod, and you get ling. A delicious spread to have take home to dinner. Like, I'm just getting so excited thinking about it. I'm literally starving at the thought. Not so much starving at the look of these salted clams, but the ling, blackfish, and cod sounds absolutely delicious right now. So the bite going into using this type of soft bait rig here is going to be a little bit different compared to a crab bite. Of course, the blackfish, you know, they still have their terrible teeth that orthodontists would love to work on. They will crunch up a crab bite by bite. That gives you the traditional little tap, tap, tap bite that you'll get in the winter. But if you're using a clam, as you drop this down and you're waiting for your bite, you can picture good old Tony Soprano slurping up some spaghetti, because that's basically what the blackfish are gonna do. A lot of the times when you're fishing a soft bait like the clam, they'll literally slurp up the clam and swim off with your rig. So you'll feel them literally swimming away, and that's when you set the hook. So basically that's just a little rundown on the type of rigs that you'd wanna be using if you're targeting spring blackfish, and the types of baits. And of course, make sure you follow all the rules and regulations for every species you target, and specifically remember their spawn season. Especially if you catch a big female out there, you may want to consider releasing her. See you guys on next week's Open Boat.
And the last one is the giveaway, which ends this week, and I have picked a winner. It was a little bit of a dogfight at the end. We had a couple of really nice striper shots, and I really came close to picking one of these. I'm going to put a couple of them up here just to sort of give them their honorable mention. But in the end, I chose Andrew Drake's photo of this big largemouth. He's a 12-year-old kid from Central Mass. I used to be a 12-year-old kid from Central Mass. And, you know, you can kind of tell he's using his youth to kind of get himself into some places that other people might not be able to fish. He catches a big largemouth, which kind of was my specialty back at age 12. So, you know, he hit me in the soft spot. I'm going to send him the lure. A little more backstory to that, too. You know, he sent a couple other photos in over the last few weeks. And, you know, we've talked a little bit through email. He designed some of his own lures, which I think is really cool. And he's going to get this one from me. I'll start another one right away. We're going to wrap this next one up on July 24th, so you got 3 months to impress me. And I'm going to give away a flat glide needlefish. I don't even know what color it is going to be yet. I got a few that I got to paint, so I'll just add another one to the pile. Flat glide needle is a plug I designed. It's worked really well for me over the last, geez, how long have I been making these things? 14 years, 15 years. So it's an effective plug for striped bass. So, yeah, get those photos in to me. You can email them to danderson@thefisherman.com, or you can text them to the number on the screen. And the only rules are it has to be recently caught, and it has to show you holding your fish. It can't be laying on the rocks or on the deck of the boat or whatever. Outside of that, everything else is in play. Freshwater, saltwater, offshore, inshore, doesn't matter to me. Get those photos in, and we'll see who wins. Moving over into the fishing reports now. Seeing a lot more freshwater reports coming down out of Maine and New Hampshire now. My buddy Jesse up in southern Maine has been getting some really nice largemouth over the last week. Couple over 5, couple over 6, and we've seen some others, guys getting them on jigs and jerk baits and all kinds of stuff. So that bite is really firing up in the northern reaches of New England right now. Dropping down over the border, let's start things off with James Jewkes.
I look excited today. I don't know why. Maybe because the fishing's been off the hook, without a doubt. Had a dozen shad over the last couple of days. Place has been on fire. Those things moved into the Merrimack in force. Of course, last week the herring just piled in. They must have had a really good spurt of warm water running down the river. They just piled in. The shad are in. Dave, I'll tell you, the pike, the smallmouth, largemouth, you name it, the stuff's been going on. The carp has been super active. Holdover fishing is perked up. I'm expecting to see our first freshies probably next week, if not before. I've made a couple of striper trips already. Just really checking, but you never know. You can find them out there. But yeah, as far as that, the reports all over the area, the guys catching are just catching. You know, it's time to get out, do your thing. Yes, it's freezing in the morning. My fingers are icicles. But get out there and do your thing. If you're giving shad, American shad, a try, it can be a little tough for the first timer, but don't give up. You know, we have our shad spoons in here. You can try a dart if you want. Give yourself a nice long leader. Get down to the bottom and let that thing swing right across in front of you. If you think you're not doing it right, try something different. That's all. It's like any other fishing. It's just these fish were not totally baiting. We're more or less aggravating them. You want to match your weight to the speed of the river so you can get down fairly quickly but be able to just stay on the bottom without getting hung up. Of course, they always say if you're not getting hung up, you're not doing it right, but that's another story. But yeah, everything else is going crazy. We got a little smoke on the water. I don't think you can see it down there. You know, the cormorants are everywhere. Had an eagle fly right by me this morning already. Crazy. Now we got a great blue heron that's flying up here. I can't see him, but yes, life on the river and all the surrounding ponds and lakes are just very, very fun. All right, Dave, that's about it from here. Have some fun, people.
Heading into Central Mass, that wild lake trout bite that's been going on at Wachusett is still hanging on. Didn't hear of any giants this week, but the fish are still up shallow. In fact, Jeff Sullivan, one of our Rhode Island correspondents, headed to Wachusett this week. We talked a little bit beforehand, just because I spent so much time fishing that place when I was younger. So he went to a couple places I recommended, and they found the fish. They had some landlocked salmon. They had a bunch of lake trout, and seems like those fish are still up shallow. We've got really no changes in the forecast that are going to warm the water up dramatically. So I think for at least another week, there's going to be opportunity to get a nice fish out of Wachusett. So that's something you guys can definitely do. While we're out in Western Mass, let's complete our two correspondents out that way. We'll start things off with Steve Reigles from Steve's UV Leaves. Here he is.
The shad bomb has officially exploded. Fish are being caught in the tributaries pretty much all day. With some quality rows mixed in there. Nate Wins hit me with a report from the Holyoke Dam the other day. He was in double digits already on Steve's leaves, and it's only going to get better. The river's cleared up. The water is pretty steady. Temperatures are in the low 50s most days, and it's only going to get better. So there are some keeper stripers being caught pretty much through the whole river. Not a lot, but if you put in your time, the fish are there. It's only going to get better moving into next week. So as long as we stay warm and the river keeps clearing up, it's on. Get out there and get some fish. Take advantage of the spring run while you can.
And next up, we'll check in with Roy Leyve, way out in Western Mass, for a little freshwater report. Here he is.
Hey Dave, Roy Lytle here with this week's Western Mass report. I hope you can hear me. Hey Dave, Roy Lytle here with this week's Western Mass report. Just doing a little trout fishing. I'm going to turn my back to you for a second. I'm going to land this beautiful little brookie, and then we'll let him go and I'll continue. This state has dumped so many of these brookies from this size, you know, well up into a few pounds, but they are just gorgeous. All right, let's get back to this report. So, fishing has been about as good as it gets. Water levels are finally starting to come down. Actually, they've come down a lot. We haven't really had much rain in the forecast, though we have had some rain. It has been cold at night out here, but everything's still pushing forward. Crappie are really starting to get tight to shoreline. They're starting to spawn. That's probably one of my favorite things to chase this time of the year, besides, you know, playing around with these stock trout, as well as shad. Shad are in the Connecticut River. There's a lot of reports coming out. I haven't gone out myself, but a lot of friends of mine have gone out, and they've been getting into some shad. Pike, carp, you know, anything smallmouth bass, anything you want to do right now in Western Mass, it's on fire, really, to come to think of it. So if you haven't gotten off your couch or plan to trip out to get out on the water, this is the time. You know, there's even some striped bass in the river that have shown up, or residential fish that held over that are starting to move. So this is the time of year to get out and, you know, dust off the rods and get out, man. Both reservoirs are open, Wachusett and Quabbin. Lakers, you know, still continue to be caught strongly. My guess is they're probably gonna start heading out into deeper water as this water starts to warm up pretty quick. But smallmouth bass, you name it. I mean, it's on fire right now. So get out there, do some fishing, be safe. Catch you guys next week. Peace.
Now leaping all the way back to southeastern Massachusetts and the Cape, freshwater fishing has continued to impress. We've got a lot of largemouth bass being caught. We've got tons of trout being caught. A lot of nice sized fish, and it seems like just about every way that you can catch these fish is working right now. But, you know, that segment of the fishing world is losing a lot of players right now, because everybody's just kind of leaning further and further towards saltwater right now. We did see the first schoolies entering the Cape Cod Canal this week, and for a little bit more on that, let's check in quickly with East End Eddie.
Hi Dave, there's a east flood tide running behind me here at the Herring Run. There was a full moon on Tuesday, but there's still schoolies in the canal. There's a lot of schoolies actually off of Martha's Vineyard, and there's some fish bigger than that in Narragansett Bay and different parts of Rhode Island, so it's trending in the right direction. Just as a reminder, the regulations for striped bass in Massachusetts are the same as last year. 28 inches to less than 31 is a keeper, one fish per day. And tautog season's been open for a few weeks now, and you can get tautog in the canal, of course, and the regulations on that are 3 fish bag limit, 16-inch minimum, with you can take 1 fish that's over 21 inches. That will be in effect until May 31st when the regulations change. They change a few times during the season. So I was in Maco's the other day speaking with Jeff Hopwood, and he's having his sale at Maco's on April 26th and 28th this weekend. So great buys there, 15% off Tsunami rods, and a lot of different items that are marked down considerably, rods, reels, line, lures, Some stuff is actually 50% off. So stop by Mako's and talk to the guys there who always have good information for you. I was reading the fishing column by the great Captain Dave Monty the other day, and he's a great writer and a great captain. And he had mentioned in his column that the NOAA statistics are that the latest numbers are that the sale of fishing gear is up 22% from the previous year, and that 2.3 million people rely on their employment to the fishing industry. So what all that means is that a lot of people are doing the same thing we are. And my tip of the week is that if you're new to the area and you see one of those bumper stickers that says Canal Tunnel Permit, it's just a joke. There is no canal tunnel. I had a guy come up to me one time in the East End in the parking lot. He wanted me to give him directions to Canal Tunnel. I think he was from Iowa. So there is no canal tunnel. Although at the rate that they're working to put together the money and everything to replace the two bridges, maybe we'd be better off with a tunnel. But in any event, until next week, be safe and hopefully catch a big one.
Now we're seeing striper activity outside the canal as well, all along the South Shore of Massachusetts, and in all those rivers and harbors like the Weweantic and the Wareham River, Marion Harbor, Mattapoisett Harbor, New Bedford Harbor, Paden-Aram, the Westport River. All those places have fish right now. Most of them are on the small side. Say average fish like 20 to 25 inches. We're seeing some top water action as well, and a lot of fish being taken on paddle tails. And it's only going to get better from here on out. I mean, we're at that point now where it's just going to get better and better and better. So there's really no reason to skip a day right now. You just keep fishing, and you're going to just see a steady increase in size and numbers. Great time of year to be fishing. Also seeing a lot more tog out in Buzzards Bay right now. Talked to Jason Colby, sent me a couple pics. Seems like the tog bite is really starting to fire up, especially in the western reaches of Buzzards Bay. So definitely want to check that out. We had Schoolie stripers showing up on Martha's Vineyard, so that means we're going to start seeing them on the Nantucket Sound beaches any day now. And again, it's just going to build from there, so just really great things going on in the striper world, and that's what I have for you guys in Massachusetts this week. Hopping over the border into Rhode Island, let's start things off with an East Bay report from TJ Kopecky.
Thanks, Dave. Hey guys, nice to be back on. It's probably one of the best times of the year right now for fishing lately. Obviously, striped bass are here. They've returned this week in full force, especially up in the Warren and Barrington rivers where I've been fishing and doing well on them. And I got my first keeper of the year there. It was about 28.5 to almost 29 inches long. Nice to see them though. Nice to see some bigger fish right away. And it's nice to see not just the herring inside of the river, but we also have pogies. Lots of peanut bunker swimming around the bridge when I was fishing there. So there's a lot of bait to forage on for these bass. So they're pretty much all scattered around the Warren and Barrington rivers, all the way up to the White Church. If you're going to fish up towards the White Church, get near the Heron Run that's on County Street there. There's a park and ride parking lot, and there's a couple of paths that go down to the water, and you can cast in there. It's pretty good at nighttime with some top water plugs or some subsurface swimmers with all the herring that's actually right outside of the Heron Run waiting to either come in or go out. It's been a high tide at night, so the herring were able to move inside of the run during the night under the cover of night, and which is a great time for bass to just ambush that bait there. Moving up further up towards Colt State Park, I got a couple of my buddies who've been fishing up there, and they connected on some smaller fish right inside of Colt State Park at the Mill Gut. It's called the Mill Gut. It's the little river that goes into well, it's not a river, it's just like a little inlet that goes to a pond that you go over a bridge, and when you first go in the park, you can see where it is. Those guys have been fishing that outgoing tide there down off the rocks and just casting into the current. And they've been using paddle tails and Joe Bag swarters, I believe they said, have been working. So baits basically right now that are working have been white paddle tails for me. I've moved to like a pepper flake. When it gets darker, it's more of like a bonish color with a pepper flake. And those are both paddle tails in the 4 or 5 inch range with a ½ ounce to 1 ounce lead head. That's been working for me. Depending on the current or where you're fishing, just have to get the right sink ratio to the current so you can find the fish and where they want the bait presented to them. The tog fishing in the Warren River has been good. I actually tried. I got skunked. I didn't do well. I missed the tide the right way. But this upcoming weekend, the high tide will be more towards midday, and you should have better chances up and down along the walls there in the Barrington River Bridge, the Warren River Bridge behind the Tourista. There's plenty of fish out if you're on a boat out inside the bay, Mount Hope Bay. Try the old Brightman Street Bridge in the Taunton River. You can try the Mount Hope Bridge, and you can also try the Stone River Bridge in Tiverton. There's plenty of good tog spots for shore and boat, and there's no shortage to tog in pretty much the East Bay up inside of the Providence River. So crabs have been working good. If you can get some grass shrimp, those work really well too this time of year. The tog have soft mouths. Getting into the freshwater around here, it's been kind of status quo. The bass bite is still good. There's still good crappie. There's still good pickerel bite. There's been some big pickerel caught in the Upper Warren Reservoir in Swansea. My buddy Chris sent me a picture of one. It was about 24 inches. That's a good fish. And they fight really well, but a lot of pickerel too. So the bass bite's been really good, and white perch continue to be really well in the Warren Reservoir if you're fishing in there in the East Bay. So one other thing to catch up on is trout fishing is still been really good inside of Melville Pond, and my buddy Todd, he's been catching some nice trout in there lately too. So for the East Bay, things are good, and I just see it only getting better, and I'll be waiting for my first squetique to arrive. That's my favorite time of the year, so I've been trying to get those guys. So until next week, guys, tight lines, and we'll see you then.
Now, as TJ was talking about, we are seeing a lot more striped bass moving into Narragansett Bay now. They're on the Mount Hope side, but they're also on the west side of the bay. They're up in like Apponaug Cove and going up toward Providence. One thing that TJ didn't mention is that he wrote an article in the May issue, which you can look at online or should show up at your house any day now, all about fishing the Barrington River. And it's a great story, covers a lot of different species, covers the bait, covers the lures. Really well written piece, and something you guys should definitely check out. So head over to the website and check that out. Moving down the bay, we're seeing some bigger striped bass. A friend of mine was out throwing some big metal lips off the boat. They got some nice fish, look like into the at least mid-teen class anyway. So we're seeing a lot of movement, a lot of striped bass. There's bunker around, there's herring, there are peanut bunker around. So really things are starting to blossom inside Narragansett Bay. Outside in outside Mount Hope Bay and all along heading down toward Newport and Jamestown, we're seeing a lot more tog activity, and that extends all the way out to the ocean front. And just lots of different things going on in the Bay Area right now. For a little bit more on that and some of the freshwater stuff going on in the local area, let's check in now with Jeff Sullivan.
Hey Dave, what's up? Jeff back this week, giving you a report. I've been fishing around the clock, nonstop. I'm exhausted. I've been doing everything from striped bass, which the striped bass are showing up by the hour, it seems like. These are all fresh fish, nice laced up fish. It seems like it's going to be a really good spring run, which is great. Great for our fishery, great for everybody. The tog fishing is like off the chain right now. I've been largemouth fishing around the clock. I went lake trout fishing this week. Got some nice lake trout with some Atlantic salmon. which I'm pretty stoked about. I was talking to you this week, Dave, about it, and you gave me some good information that I really appreciate. But yeah, it was overall a great time. I mean, this whole week is filled with fish. You really can't complain. You put the hours in, you're gonna get them. Whether it's tog, striped bass, largemouth, chain pickerel, perch, trout fishing. Even the trout fishing's great right now. I mean, this time of year, you really can't go wrong with whatever species you want to target. It's been incredible. This is a great spring run. It's going to be a good one. We got a couple cold nights coming up, but that shouldn't stop you. Don't let it stop you. Go out there, get tight, get some drags screeching. Yeah, so today I'm going to probably go out, do a little bass fishing, and then tonight I'll go out and do some striped bass fishing. Let's see what happens. Next week starts my charter year. My captain said it's go time, so we're ready, man. We're ready. I'm excited, Dave. Things are starting to really ramp up here. Yep, that means I'm not getting more sleep. So time of year you don't get any sleep. So let's go. Let's get tight. Thanks, everybody. See you guys next week.
Now, heading out along the ocean front, you got striper opportunities, you got tog opportunities. These schools of migrating stripers, even though we're seeing a lot more activity up inside the estuaries, up inside the bays, these fish have to get there. So if you target places that either is going to stop these fish, make them feed for a tide like an inlet or a breachway, or a major obstacle like the west wall, you've got an opportunity to find some fish there. I would keep things on the smaller side, nothing over 5 inches. A lot of paddle tails, a lot of small top waters, and you've got an opportunity to catch some fish that way. Togging looks like it's been good out front. I haven't seen anything gigantic, but seeing more and more evidence of just a growing bite, and that's what I have for you guys in Rhode Island this week. Crossing over into Connecticut now, let's check in with our resident herring expert. This is Kevin Job. Here he is.
Thanks, Dave. So doing a little bit of a river herring update here for Connecticut. So at one of our alewife runs here today, as you can see behind me, there is an osprey here. There's also about another dozen ospreys moving around the pond today. As you'll probably hear throughout the course of me talking here today, they're very loud. So the last week's been very slow here. Fish just started picking up again last night. Still pretty small runs. We're on track with where we were last year, which was unfortunately a pretty bad year. But I'm thinking with the warm-up that we're getting now, we should surpass those numbers this week. Fingers crossed. Talking with some people in the Western Sound, they've been seeing more consistent numbers of fish, which is really good to hear. Our counting stations down there, unfortunately, we're still really not recording that many fish. But they did come in consistently. So a week ago, when I missed a week with you guys, beginning of last week, we had some decent runs in eastern Connecticut that compared more so to historic numbers. But unfortunately, what we didn't have was a run in front of that and anything following that. So we had 2 or 3 days of decent runs, but we're waiting for that to pick back up again, and we're hoping that this warmth, we're gonna have a couple more cold nights, but as it starts to warm up again, we're hoping. Historically we have had a late run of fish, alewives in April. Blueback herring, this is when we historically would see them starting to run in numbers through May, but we haven't seen any outside of the Maine River, Connecticut River, where we're doing some netting work to see what's in the river. So fingers crossed. Again, anybody who sees anything, especially, it's been really helpful hearing from the anglers in Western Connecticut. I'm only able to get down there twice a week, so having those eyes out at night and letting us know, we've been able to actually get out first thing in the morning and look for signs of fish, which has been really great. And we're seeing scales and some fish to back up the reports that we're getting. So again, keep those reports coming in. It really does help us a lot. And hopefully we can get some permanent monitoring stations to fill in some of those gaps in between. So I will be back next week, and let's hopefully next week I've got some much more positive news to give you guys. So thanks again. Bye.
In the Eastern Sound, we're seeing more and more tog activity. We're seeing more and more striped bass activity. The stripers seem to be relating more to the mouths of the rivers or the mouths of the harbors and bays. So you're finding them, around the mouth of the Thames River. You're finding them, just inside of Narragansett Bay. You're finding them in the lower portions of the Connecticut River and the adjacent beaches. And going up the Connecticut River, there's a lot of stuff going on. In fact, I fished with Rowan Lytle on Saturday, and he just cemented the idea that he really is one of the best fishermen that I have ever fished with personally. He always delivers. We did some tributary fishing for smallmouth and logged some seriously impressive fish on tiny little hair jigs. Really a lot of fun there. And then we poled around in the flooded timbers, and he told me, you're going to catch a carp on the fly rod. I tried to tell him I don't fly fish, but he made it happen. And I got my first carp on the fly rod. So a lot of activity up there all throughout the Connecticut River. And so while we're in that region, we'll start things off with the man himself. Here's Rowan Lytle.
Hey everybody, so the Connecticut River has been dropping pretty substantially and clearing up over the last week or so with the lack of rain both down here in Connecticut and further north. We had some cool nights that have slowed things down a little bit in a lot of respects, but that's going to change here coming up for the next week. The weekend weather looks fantastic, and into next week fairly warm, nice and mild, not these 30-degree nights. So I expect just about everything to be cranking pretty good. Of course, I've been mostly on the carp game, getting some shots on the side here and there at bowfin as well. So my clients are having some pretty darn good days, putting a lot of carp in the net and a few bowfin. So everything's looking good, kind of getting some more actual proper springy feel to it. Leaves are coming out, and the fish should be active with this little warm-up we got coming up.
Next up, we'll check in with a lower river report from Captain Mike Roy from Real Cast Charters.
Hey, what's up everybody? For this week's fishing forecast, you can expect the stripers to be on the move. We've caught fish with sea lice on them, which indicates that those are fresh ocean migratory fish. So the fish are definitely moving into different estuaries and rivers and all throughout Long Island Sound. The other thing that's open right now is black fishing. There is a spring season, and that's open until April 30th. Depending on who you talk to, some people experience better results, and some people not so great. Personally, I feel like the fall tog fishing is definitely better than the spring, but this upcoming week should be pretty good. The last week of the season is usually the best part of the spring season. Next week, I'll be in Panama, so I'll be fishing the rest of this week. And then when I come back in May, that's when we're going to start fishing all throughout Long Island Sound. We're going to be fishing for stripers, bluefish, porgies, and weakfish. I'm hoping to get another good run of weakfish, and I think that's going to be prime time the first half of May. So if you're interested in one of those trips, contact me, and I think good things are going to be coming our way very soon.
And then we'll head out of the mouth. We'll check in Westport with Matt Stone from Black Hall Outfitters.
What's up everyone, Matt here at Black Hall Outfitters in Westbrook with this week's fishing report. Before I start the report, just want to let everyone know May 10th, 11th, and 12th we're having our summer kickoff event here at Black Hall Outfitters in Westbrook. Tons of sales, store-wide, lots of deals, vendors will be on hand, it should be pretty awesome. Fishing report this week, we do have some pretty good tog action in the Central Sound. I was able to get out yesterday. Slower bite than I kind of expected, but they're definitely around. I was getting fish in 15 to 30 feet. I know guys are getting them deeper as well. Green crabs, obviously, and clams if you can't find any crabs. Stripers, the holdovers are still active. They're still hitting. They're definitely getting more active. You're going to see some ospreys diving on herring. Anywhere that's happening, there's liable to be some bass around there too. Lunker City finesse fish, gravity tackle paddle tails, Daiwa SP minnows, Joe Bag swarters, kind of all those early season things are great right now. They were hitting some small topwaters as well. The Tsunami Tidal Pro Twitch and the Tsunami Tidal Pro topwaters are really great this time of year. Some of my favorites. Those work great. Freshwater, a lot of the same from the last few weeks. Those fish are pre-spawn still. We haven't had enough warm days to kind of kick it into the next gear. So jigs, hair jigs, you can get by with some crankbaits, stuff like that are all really good right now. Small swim baits like Kitex are working too. Anything like that is going to work great. Jerk baits, of course. And then trout, still very good. No crazy rain events or anything like that. So things are looking good on that front as well. Good luck, everyone.
Heading west from there, the togging gets better and better as we head west right now. Unfortunately, that season is going to wrap up in just a few days on April 30th. But you still got time to make it happen. Water temps are pretty good, and it's a good time of year to do it because we don't have those interference fish. So you don't have to fish with crabs. You can fish with worms. You can fish with squid. You can fish with clams, and you will catch tog that way. Also, as you head west, the stripers tend to get bigger and greater in numbers. So, you know, if you head up to the Western Sound, you can get some 20-pound class fish like Max and Lauren did over the last few days. And while we're on that subject, let's check in with Max himself. Here he is, Max Finch from Fisherman's World.
Hey everyone, Max here from Fisherman's World with another local fishing report. Me and Lauren just got back in. We checked out our local deep water reefs like 11B, 28, south of Greens. The fish are in. We beat them up pretty good on flutter spoons. We have, you know, pretty good sized schools of stripers on our deep water reefs. During the slower part of the tides, they were coming up and they were chasing bunker. But the fish are definitely in, and it's really good. You know, for this early right now in our backyard, we had fish up to 25 pounds today, which is nice to see. We lost a couple more decent fish. I know they're still getting really good fish to the west. That's just going to keep improving as we move into May and as the fish run up the Hudson to spawn. And then in our freshwater rivers, we're seeing a lot of trout action. You know, Mianus is fishing well, Norwalk River's fishing really good, and the Saugatuck. The Saugatuck Reservoir, we've seen a lot of nice smallmouth bass action already. We've seen some walleye and some decent trout up to like 6 pounds. The blackfish bite is still pretty good early. We're not carrying crabs right now, but sandworms and clams. We just weighed a 10.5 pounder in yesterday, caught on a sandworm, so that's pretty cool. I was actually right off of Norwalk Calf Pasture Beach Pier. And as we, you know, progress on the backside of this moon, we should see, you know, with these tides, more fish coming through our deep water reefs and starting to flood into our harbors and around the islands. Thanks and good luck.
And the last thing we'll do before we wrap this thing up is we'll take a long flight down to Costa Rica. We'll check in with Captain Ben Gilmour from Jackpot Sport Fishing at Marina Pez Vela in Costa Rica.
Guys, how's it going? This is Ben from down here in Costa Rica. I got my buddy Jake with me today, all the way from Boston, Massachusetts, 16 years old, fishing down with me here in Costa Rica. How's it going, buddy?
Good, how are you?
Awesome, awesome. How's the fishing right now in Costa Rica? What's been going on?
Some tuna, some sailfish. There's a tournament, 42 boats from 20 different countries.
Wow, yeah guys, I forgot to mention we got the Offshore World Championships happening right now. So more than 20 countries, 42 boats. Jake here is staying in the official hotel and the Parador for the tournament, and just great to see anglers from all over the world here in Costa Rica. What's happening inshore along the beaches and the rocks right now?
Inshore, we got some rooster fish action. Don't know much else about it though.
Yeah, the roosters have been biting good. Just yesterday we got a 25 pounder, which was a nice fish. There's been a few snook, snapper, jacks and mackerel also. So guys, handing back to you in the studio. This is Ben and Jake from down here in Costa Rica.
That's what I have for you guys in the reports this week. Hopefully you're going to find them useful. It's going to inspire you to get out there. We got a lot of striper activity right now. We got a lot of tog activity. On top of that, freshwater fishing is still popping. A lot of trout. Got some big lake trout. Got lots of big largemouth. There's no reason to stay home no matter what you want to chase. You can get it done. If you're not a subscriber to The Fisherman, I highly recommend you head to our website. That's thefisherman.com. You get a full taste of what we offer. We cover all the fishing from Delaware to Maine. We have travel pieces that reach outside the region. And we cover all angling disciplines, whether it's fly, kayak, surf, offshore, inshore. It's all covered. We do freshwater. We do saltwater. We do it all. It's $29.99, $29.95 for the year. That's going to get you 12 paper magazines sent to your house. Also going to get you 26 digital editions sent to your email from April to November. You're also going to get access to all the back issues, and you're going to get access to our other editions. So if you sign up for New England, you're going to also get digital access to Long Island and New Jersey editions. You can keep up on all the reports. You can read all the articles from the best anglers in the area. It's the best $30 you can spend at fishing. There's no way around it. But if you look at that and you're still not interested, at the very least, give us a like and subscribe here on YouTube and hit that little bell thing down there so you get a notification every time we post something new. I appreciate you guys for watching.